Tell me, do you ever just look at a map and start noticing weird stuff about it? For example, take a look at this part of the Netherlands here. Why does it just jut out from the rest of the country like that? Or this part of Argentina that just extends this way? A bit strange, isn't it? Well, these extensions have a number of different names, but two of the most common are a salient or a panhandle. Now, there are literally hundreds of salients in the world, whether they be country level or subnational salients. For the sake of this video, I've narrowed it down to 5 country level salients to discuss. So, without further ado, let's get started. Our first example is the Congo pedicle, which is this salient in the south of the DRC. Now, to understand why this thing exists in the first place, we simply need to look at one word which will perfectly summarize its history. Colonialism! We'll be seeing that word a lot. Now, something about the Congo pedicle is that it kinda has a lack of any natural boundaries. Despite the Luapula River, which makes up the northern border, the rest of the border is completely arbitrary. Now, the pedicle is all well and good for the Congo here, but not so much for Zambia, as it cuts straight through it, giving Zambia a kind of butterfly shape, separating the east and west. Next up is Namibia's Caprivi Strip, which is already pretty noticeable right away. While the rest of Namibia has relatively straight borders, the Caprivi Strip extends far out in the east, nearly bordering Zimbabwe. Now, why does it do this? Well, once again, the answer is colonialism! Basically, Germany, who once controlled Namibia, wanted access to the Zambezi River, which would eventually lead them east to their other colony of German East Africa, now Tanzania. The UK, who controlled the area at the time, agreed to give Germany the Caprivi Strip in return for Zanzibar on the eastern coast of Africa. So all seems great for Germany. They have a new route from their western colony to their eastern one. What could go wrong with that? Well, as it turns out, the Zambezi River leads to one of the largest waterfalls in the world, Victoria Falls, a fact that the British were likely aware of at the time of negotiations, and the Caprivi Strip has stayed ever since. Moving over to North America, we have the Alaskan Panhandle, which moves south along the northwestern coast of North America. Now, why does this exist? Say it with me, colonialism! Back when Alaska was controlled by Russia, Russia and the UK, which controlled Canada at the time, signed a treaty that defined the borders of the respective colonial possessions. Now, this is all well and good, but the problem with the treaty is that it didn't exactly do a very good job of explaining where the borders were, so this dispute continued on until 1903, much after Alaska was sold to the US, when the two sides finally agreed as to where the borders were. The Alaskan Panhandle has stayed the same ever since. The Wakhan Corridor is a narrow strip of territory in Afghanistan, forming the salient of Afghanistan's Badakhshan province. Once again, the answer as to why it exists is, of course, colonialism! It was created from an 1893 agreement between British India and Afghanistan, which created what is known as the Durand Line, which is basically the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The purpose of the salient was to be a buffer zone between territory controlled by the British and territory controlled by the Russians. Although these issues are long resolved, the salient still remains to this day. Our final example for this video is that of a small town in Lithuania called Dievaniškis. I think I said that right. The story as to why this salient exists actually doesn't have that much to do with colonialism this time, surprisingly, but instead with World War II. You see, before 1939, Dievaniškis was under control of Poland, but after the invasion of Poland happened, the area was given to Belarus. The following year, after many requests by the Lithuanian residents of the area, the town was given to Lithuania and has stayed part of it ever since, meaning that Lithuania awkwardly cuts into Belarus to this day. So, that's 5 examples of country-level salients. Also, what are you talking about? I totally didn't not upload for over 3 months, like, where do you even get that assumption from? Anyway, roll the outro.